to those commanded to speak as the very oracles of God, God's prophets. If you are watching this right now, can you say the name Billy Redden? I know I can't hear you, but can you still say it? It's important for you to say it. Billy Redden. In 1972, filmmakers released a movie by the name Deliverance. It's a movie about four city friends who decide to get away from their domestic lives for a week and go canoeing in rural Georgia. When the men arrive, they are welcomed with hostility by the backwoods locals, who stalk the vacationers and savagely attack them in the woods. And soon, their canoe trip turns into a fight for survival. If you watch the movie or you know of the movie, then you know that one of its most memorable scenes is when one of the city men has a musical banjo battle with a young mentally challenged boy. Concerning the banjo scene, what many found out on the 40th anniversary of Deliverance is that the young mentally challenged boy, Billy Redden, in the real world, was no actor. He didn't know how to play the banjo. It was all staged. And so, many listening to the interviews of the 40th anniversary had the necessary follow-up question. Why would they get a non-actor, non-banjo playing boy for the role? Well, the filmmakers saw 15-year-old boy Billy Redden in the neighborhood and thought, he's got the look. What look? The look of a mentally disabled child born of inbreeding. The look of backwoods thinking. The look of rural Georgia. The look of trailer parks. The look of that God-forsaken term, white trash. That look. So the filmmakers grabbed the boy, had him play the role in the film that cost $2 million to make, went on to make $42 million. Meanwhile, Billy Redden, the boy who played the role, 40 years later, as of 2012, works at Walmart. They took Billy, they used Billy, and then they threw Billy back. You may be thinking, okay, brother, but who cares about a 15-year-old boy who didn't receive his proper slice of a box office hit? Life sucks. Get with it. Live with it. Get over it. Get over it, Billy. Who cares? That's a good question. If you're still with me, if you're staying with me and still listening, wherever you are, could you raise your right hand for me? And then could you reach it out and grab that question? Who cares? It's right here. Just grab it and put it in your back pocket. Our text today comes from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 14, verses 1 to 5. And it reads, "At that time, Herod the ruler heard the news about Jesus. He said to his servants, 'This is John the Baptist. He's been raised from the dead. This is why these miraculous powers are at work through him.' See, Herod had arrested John, bound him, and put him in prison because of Herodias, the wife of Herod's brother Philip. That's because John told Herod, 'It's against the law for you to marry her.' Although Herod wanted to kill John, he feared the crowd because they thought John was a prophet." The word of the Lord. So, Herod the ruler wanted to kill John, but Herod was afraid because the people considered John a prophet. John didn't work for profit, nor did he work for profiteers. No, he was a prophet. He was a man of God and a man of the people. He was committed to justice. This is why he says what you are doing is against the law. It is unlawful. It is unjust. And while the king would usually do away with people like John, people who challenge him in this way, this king had to be careful. He had to be careful about how he approached the prophet. Why? Because when a prophet is more concerned with justice than she is concerned about profit, she or he becomes a prophet of the people. And the last thing Herod wanted to do was mess with the people's prophet. But how did the people know that John was a prophet? Because of his speech, because of his life. They could sense in John what ancient Israel felt in the prophets of old, that whether I live or die, threats or not, I will speak against injustice. I will speak God's truth. I will speak on behalf of the people. In John, they witnessed the true prophetic life of Israel. They could sense it. But I would imagine that not everyone was on the same page with John. Not everyone could sense a true prophet in their midst. No, there was probably some still asking the same question that we asked earlier. What question is that? It's still in your back pocket. What is it? Who cares? Who cares, John? Why does it matter that Herod stole his brother's wife? Why does it matter who Herod is sleeping with? Why does it matter, as the text will go on later to say, that Herod is lusting after his own niece? Why does it matter, John, that the king is unlawful, unjust? Why does it matter? Church, prophets, it matters because to John, the king sits in a sacred space. He sits in a place established by God. He sits on hallowed ground. And because of that, John says, Herod, it is wrong. It is unlawful. It is unjust. It is evil for you to take your brother's wife, Herod. You are the king of Israel, Herod. You are the leader of these people, Herod. God has given you this authority and this seat in life, Herod. That seat is sacred, Herod, and you must act justly, Herod. And I don't care what throne you're on. If God has placed you in sacred authority, how dare you desecrate the sacred? But of course, this brings us back to Billy. Who cares about white trash, hillbilly, trailer trash, Billy Redden? Taken and tossed Billy Redden. Walmart working Billy Redden. The prophet should. Why? Because white trash, hillbilly, trailer trash, redneck, backwoods, these are all made up categories. They don't exist. Why? Because Billy is a person. But if we let Billy be put inside of these categories, that means Billy can be reduced. That means Billy can be used. That means Billy can be manipulated, made subservient. He doesn't have a dream. He doesn't have an aspiration. He's just an inbred, mentally disabled banjo player who's got nothing more to do with his life than to make someone else millions before he's tossed back into the American abyss. Billy's no longer sacred. Church, God's prophet. Don't we understand that America sees us as nothing more than Billies? Oh, wow. You got the look of a professor, the look of an actor, the look of a CEO, the look of the doctor, a look of the next president. You got the look. Oh, you don't have the skills. You don't know how to act. You can't play the banjo. Don't worry. We can train you. Just come to our schools. We'll take care of you. Come to the college fair, but leaving our promises. Get your undergraduate, then your graduate, then your PhD, and then show up and it'll all be good. Good to be a part of the production. Good to be a part of the team. We buy into all the smoke and mirrors, all the lies until we graduate, hit the stage and realize that we ain't got no job. We break our backs for this nation, pay taxes for this nation, send our children to fight for this nation, pay debt to this nation, and then we get sick and we can't get any help from this nation. We take out loans for homes in this nation, loans for cars in this nation, get credit cards in this nation, pay insurance in this nation, rack up student loan debt in this nation. And they tell us if we keep our payments and we keep them up for 10 to 25 years, payments on a dream that they sold us, on a part in the movie that they created, they'll forgive us. They don't tell us that after pouring blood, sweat, and tears into your job for years and years, they'll just lay you off. After making their company millions and millions, they won't have a severance package for you. After countless hours of overtime, they won't cover a single medical bill in your time of crisis. They're just using us to make them memorable, to make them trillions, only to leave us collecting carts in the parking lot at Walmart. And to be honest, I can't even say I'm mad. Why? Because they ain't supposed to tell us. They ain't supposed to tell us that we work. We make them millions while they offer our people little above minimum wage. They ain't supposed to tell us that they could give us all medical benefits if they tapped into what the company saved. The filmmakers aren't supposed to tell the 15-year-old boy that his role will contribute to $42 million made, and Herod ain't supposed to tell Israel that he's using his throne to get pleasure from sex slaves. They ain't supposed to tell us. No, that's the job of the prophet, of God's people, those committed to defend the sacred. Billy is sacred, church. I'm closing here. If there's anything COVID-19 has shown us, it is that our current president and our former president and every billionaire, every administration backed, funded, and upheld by corporations looks at us, that's you and I, white trash, brown trash, black, red, and yellow trash. We are nothing more than billies to them. And we sit in our homes waiting, hoping that people in power, that folks like Donald Trump, who own casinos designed to steal your money, who promised to keep out foreigners even though he's married to one, who claims to be anti-abortion even though he's had plenty. We sit there waiting for Barack Obama, who turned a blind eye to Ferguson, who turned a blind eye to Flint, who turned a blind eye to the Charleston Nine, who was backed by and defended corporations. Black people sit by for him waiting. That Bill Clinton, who signed NAFTA and thereby decimated many jobs and economies, both domestic and abroad, he's leaving us waiting. That George Bush, who sent our citizens to die in battles over nuclear warheads that were a fraud. All of us keep sitting, looking to them, waiting, instead of rising up like John and saying, you are going against the laws of God. you are desecrating what's sacred. Brothers and sisters, because the church refuses to be John, brothers and sisters, because the church refuses to be John in this critical hour in our nation's history, because the church refuses to challenge this worldly administration, because it refuses to speak up for justice, refuses to speak up for Billy and defend the sacred, because the church refuses to own its prophetic voice, there are Billies right now, this moment, arming up as white nationalists, arming up and intentionally spreading the coronavirus to kill other Billies. Black and brown Billies. There are Billies right now, this moment, arming up and assaulting Asian Billies, blaming them, calling COVID the Chinese virus. There are Billies right now. Just watch the news. Black and brown Billies are dying at rapid rates because some have made the virus a weapon. Because when there is no prophet to speak for the people, then we give in to evil's deception. And I can't help but say that if the church stands by, if the church refuses to help the poor and abused unify, if the church refuses to help the Billies organize, if the church refuses on Billy's behalf to prophesy, may God have mercy on the day when his prophets must give an account for every sacred white, sacred brown, sacred yellow, sacred red, and sacred black life. May God have mercy on us all.